Welcome back to the show. Now let's get interactive. You can join with your comments via our social media handles. We are live on X Spaces, we are live on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course, myjoyonline.com. This afternoon, police and military deployment is underway in parts of the country where illegal mining activities have led to destruction of water bodies and forest, reserves. The situation has significant implications for the health of Ghanaians, as Ghana Water Company says it is struggling to produce adequate water due to pollution of the water bodies. The committee, headed by the National Security Minister Albert Kanapa, will seek to clamp down on those destroying the environment. So how did this committee come to be, and what should we expect of them? We've put together this to illustrate the point. And so this afternoon, we are joined in the studio by professionals from the built environment, made up of 5 professional bodies, and they are demanding action on illegal mining, also known as Galamsey. And also joining us shortly will be the Regional Minister for the Eastern Region, Sefa Champon. Plus, we hear organized labor if these actions meet their demands. So let me bring in my guests as we sit down to discuss the matters on hand. Percy Bukari is President, Ghana Institute of Planning. Percy, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Also is Engineer Ludwig Hesse, President-elect, Institute of Engineering Technology. You're welcome, sir.
Institution of Engineering.
Yes, Institution of Engineering.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll also be joined by Sefa Champon. He is the Eastern Regional Minister. One of the regions identified to spearhead this new government approach to dealing with illegal mining. And also Abraham Kumsem, a Secretary General, Ghana Federation of Labour, and Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, convener for the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. So these are the gentlemen who've joined in the studio for us to have this discussion. So let me start with Percy, and of course, Mr. Hesse is also in the studio with me. So Percy, everybody is calling for one thing: temporary ban on illegal mining, declaration of state of emergency around the water bodies, and then other issues that will help sanitize the system. We are not getting it, at least from government pronouncements so far. From where you sit, from your perspective, what really is going wrong, and to what extent is they destroying the environment?
All right, thank you very much. I would thank you for this opportunity, and we also want to thank the viewers. Okay, so for us at the Institute, of course, there are a lot of things happening within the airspace when it comes to the issue of Galamsey. Everyone is coming from different perspectives. But for us at the built environment professional groups, what we see is that this call for the temporary ban and declaring state of emergency, I think is long overdue. Because since this happened, somewhere last 5 years, we started a call. Somewhere last year, we started a call. There was a press release that we insisted on a number of things like this. I think because we are entering into the electioneering period, the calls have come up quite more vigorously. And this is the case because, personally, I've been to a number of sites, that's a Galamsey site, across the country based on the work that we've done. Apart from just 2 regions, Greater Accra and to some extent maybe Volta region, yes. There's Galamsey almost everywhere in Ghana.
Yes.
Yes, and I've seen sites that the devastation has been very enormous. If I say the devastation, I mean not these people with small excavators and then excavating some few areas, but you have huge machines. I'm a tall person, and these machines are about 4 or 5 times my height, and they can move from a place like here at Kokomimle through the Kojo Thompson Road or the Kwame Nkrumah Avenue down to the CBD of Accra, and it clears everything on its way. These areas, some are unencumbered meaning protected forest, and some are encumbered areas, that is areas that people have used for their farms, i.e. maybe food crops and then cocoa, cash crops, palm and all that. And the devastation is so huge that when they do this, because most of the water bodies take their watersheds from these protected areas, then they use some banned chemicals,
right,
mercury and the rest, and it washes this Galamsey, this gold that they are prospecting and all that. It washes them to the nearby water bodies, and they all move straight into the water bodies that we find. So, for instance, if you see Ankobra at the far west, it's quite, an eyesore.
Right.
Just around Biposo, you see what's happening on the Pra is something else. Just here at Weja, you see what is happening on the Densu is something else. So the devastation is so huge, and we have a number of pointers. The implication is so dire to us.
But before we get to the pointers, how does it affect planning?
Yes, thank you very much. Planning is about making where we live functional. Where we live functional meaning, Elton, Brobe, you got up this morning, definitely after taking your bath and everything, the water from your bath and all that went to maybe a sock away somewhere.
Right.
Yes, and then from there, you need to move out of the house. The movement from the house through the transportation systems to your workplace and everything you do on its way, it depends on the arrangement that we have on the surface of the spatial systems. And it is making the system functional.
Right.
Now, first, the land that your building is on must be planned. The area that you are must be planned. And certainly, whilst you move, the transportation must also be planned. It must be planned in such a way that your movements are functional in a way that they are in sync with each other. So for planning, we ensure that whatever that a group of people need or society need to make them functional, everything works. So in planning, we think about the various amenities, where you sleep, housing, where transportation, water for a number of things, either for industrial or for household use. We also think about even the spread, economic activities that are going on. And water is raw material to a lot of other industrial products. So for planning, we want to make a place thrive. We want to make a place functional. And not getting water, you also getting the system polluted. So that's why we call something, maybe we will get the climate change and all that. Whatever happens somewhere affects everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, so definitely the air that you breathe, the quality of air that you breathe is very, very, very important. We have carbon footprints and all that. So all these things have direct impacts
on our lives.
Yes, on our lives.
Let me bring in Mr. Hesse. Mr. Hesse, so from the engineering point of view, give me your preliminary comments before we get into the nitty-gritty of the issues. And I will also bring in Dr. Ken Asigwe, who joins us via Zoom, to tell us the development that we are hearing this afternoon. What do you make of it?
Well, mining is engineering. All the activities of mining is basically engineering. And it has to be done in a sustainable way. It has to be done in a way that is friendly to the environment. It has to be done in a way that does not hurt us as human beings. You ask about planning. And when you leave ecosystems, the ecosystem is part of the planning. That's why forest reserves are left, so that we enhance the balance of carbon and oxygen in our environment. And so if there's wanton destruction of the forest reserve, we are killing ourselves. We are destroying the ecosystem. Water, production of water is engineering. Distribution of water is engineering. If the source of the water is not good enough, then what are we doing? We cannot get good water. So for us, this comes right into our area of engagement, because all the sustainable ways of mining is taught in engineering. And it's engineers who manage these systems. And now you are getting people who are not professionals, they are not guided by anybody, and they go into the field and do wanton destruction, as if we don't know what we are about in this country.
And obviously without recourse to planning.
Without recourse to planning, without recourse to regulation, without recourse to any engineering, without recourse to anything at all. They just go in and do wanton destructions, and we sit and watch, and we have a government that have been put in place, and we've given them our sovereignty, our power to enforce and make sure that we keep the ecosystem balanced. And the government fails to act.
That's bad. Let me bring in Dr. Ken Asigwe. Dr. Ken Asigwe, good afternoon, welcome to. So, everybody is talking now. I'm yet to come across any organized group that is not talking, what is their position regarding illegal mining. Now, over the weekend, I heard Professor Sampene or say, he made a point quite forcefully that if nothing is done now, we are likely to get to a place where even reproduction will become an issue because it is affecting the sperms of, the men. The women are giving birth to people or to children, we cannot even call them human beings because they are half human beings, half something else.
Wow.
Now, this morning we got to understand that the deployment is already started. There is the deployment of river guards. There's the police to start with. If they are unable to deal with the matter, the military will follow. This is government response. I don't know what your position is regarding what we are learning this afternoon.
Much. We've seen a story of one arrest being made. I will just ask Joy FM and Joy News, and ask everybody. We should get people to send us information of the areas they are in. Are the Chamfans still on the water bodies? What is the turbidity that we're getting? We have 37 forest reserves that have been invaded. And if you have only one, movement being done, well, it's a beginning, but it's a step too small. When you are in a crisis and you are hemorrhaging like we are hemorrhaging, we need a concerted effort, and I think that this is rather a small effort. And so you notice that in our ask, we were asking for a state of emergency over the water bodies, the sides of the buffers of the water bodies, and then in the forest reserves. If you based on the challenges that are confronting us, this is really not as forceful as you would want to see it, to be able to enable that happens. But maybe we should acknowledge that has happened. And again, I'm not too sure the strength of the water guards, their ability to be able to go into these water bodies. And one of the solutions to the problem is that you need to go into the water bodies. You need to tow the platform itself. The Chamfans, they are built on some very heavy platforms. You need to tow those platforms from the water bodies. You need to then get a vehicle that has a crane on it that can move it out of the water bodies, and then you take them out of that. If you don't do that, you just attempt to bend it, they will come back and then move it somewhere and go and build on it. By now, we should also be seeing movement in the community so that you can deal with the welding companies that are building this, the vehicles that are moving it. By now, in all of those areas, the police checkpoints should be arresting anybody that is moving any of this. So the effort that we need to see because of the genocidal nature of the crisis that we are in, I am not too sure that the effort we are seeing is, commensurate with the crisis that currently is confronting us.
So, you've always made a point that government appear not to appreciate the enormity of the situation that we are in. In view of government response to this, intense call on them to do something about it, do you get a point that I do still maintain the fact that the response is not as serious as it ought to be?
You remember that when we got into COVID, we had His Excellency the President addresses. Unfortunately, you have water in some of our water treatment plants getting turbidities as high as 14,000 NTUs and higher. The deaths that we were recording. You talked about Prof. Sampeni's, assertions,
right?
And that that you would find if you go, some of them are in jars that you can see. And with the enormity of the challenges that are confronting us, and the groundswell from the entire country, I'm not too sure that our response is commensurate with the enormity. So we will be expecting a lot more to be happening than currently that we are seeing. We need to ensure that this country responds adequately. And it's also a challenge that as at this time, we've not heard as forcefully from those who are seeking to rule us.
Exactly.
We've not had, the vice president, the presidential candidate of the MPP. We've not had the former president, the candidate of the NDC. We've not had other presidential candidates speak as forcefully as you have heard my senior engineer and then my colleague, the president of the planners.
Right.
In the studio, and our religious leaders, the Otumfo, various bodies, over 50 bodies about the pain that people are speaking. We're not seeing that coming from the state, and then also from our political parties who are seeking to rule us. And that is something that we will urge them to do. There are letters that we are sending as the media coalition on behalf of the other coalitions that we are partnering with, asking for engagements with the MPP and the NDC presidential candidates, so we can get them openly declare that they support the government's crisis response, because we don't want anybody, any of the political parties, sitting in Accra and telling us a fight Galamsey, you are not fighting it. And then they will go and sit in some pit somewhere and then be saying something else. So we would want to get that declaration from all of them as forcefully as possible. Our expectation is that in any of their political conversations now that they do, they should be talking about the fact that they stand against these criminals who are destroying our environment and wanting to kill us and poisoning us and all of that. And they stand against that. As we deal with the crisis, then we can come back, and then once we have done, find ways in which we can do this sustainably.
We will soon be joined by the Eastern Regional Minister, because his region is among those that the focus is on. The 5 regional government has identified and directed the regional ministers to lead this swoop. We'll be speaking to the regional minister shortly. But Dr. Asbe, when you hear the CEO of the Minerals Commission say that the call for a temporary ban may be unfair to those who are undertaking, safe mining, if you like. People have drilled shafts, they are doing mining underground, they are not contaminating the water in any way. So to undertake a blanket ban will be unfair to such people. What response will you give to the CEO?
Again, so you need to look again at even labor itself, the statement of labor. Labor, in their first statement, they talk about the fact that there should be a halt to mining in whatever form, legal or illegal, on the water bodies,
right,
and in the forest reserves. The media coalition's ask is also that a state of emergency over our water bodies, forest reserves, and the buffers. The water bodies, the water bodies themselves and the buffers, it is illegal to mine there. So you can't even ban it because it's illegal already. It is in the forest reserve that we're also saying that it should halt, and then there should be a state of emergency over it, and there should be a revocation of LI 2462. Because a lot of our water bodies that have gotten turbidity up to 14,000 take their sources from these water forest reserves.
Right.
And again, you need to bear in mind that Akunta mine that was in the Tano Nimri Forest Reserve, that the minister pointed out as being involved in an illegality. It's not a small-scale mining company. Heritage, they were involved in an illegality. Heritage Imperial, who are a large-scale mining company that were given prospecting licenses, but had gone into the Apraprama Forest Reserve with excavators and were engaged in an illegality that they even stated in court, in their court document, that they had mining operations. It's not a small-scale mining firm. There is no small-scale mining firm that has been given a license to go into the forest reserve. So the illegality has nothing to do with scale. So any small-scale miner who is not mining on the water bodies, that is not mining close to the buffer, is doing his properly regulated work. It's not part of what we are asking that should cease.
Right.
So we are asking that on the water bodies, on the buffers, in the forest reserves, that mining should cease there. We should arrest people on the water bodies in the buffers and make sure that we cease the mining in the forest reserve, revoke any licenses that have been given for people mining in the forest reserve, and then also revoke LI 2462. So yeah, I agree that if there's a small scale miner mining sustainably and has nothing to do with what is happening, that the call is not about them.
Right.
You know, the call is not about them. The call is about our water bodies, the call is our buffers, and then in the forest reserves.
All right. Dr. Kanasiwe, hold it there for me. Let me bring in the Eastern Regional Minister, the former Member of Parliament from Paris in the Eastern Region, and now Regional Minister for the Eastern Region, Seth Champon. Honorable Senator Champon, you're welcome to the pause here on Joy News.
Thank you very much, Elton. How are you?
I'm doing great. And last week, when the Lands and Natural Resources Minister announced the decision of the president after a national security meeting, he said regional ministers, including yourself, you've been tasked to undertake swoops using the police and, if necessary, the military, and, if necessary, decommission mining equipment. Has this started?
Thank you very much, Elton. I need to make some clarity here. That multi-sectoral approach in the Galamsey fight is something which is ongoing that we do regularly. However, last week's meeting was to give us more insight as to the level at which we have to raise our regular monitoring. You and I believe, and I will not deny that, the season we're in is very sensitive to where I sit. I'm a politician and very, very sensitive to that. However, after the voices spoke, and that is the voices of Ghana, His Excellency the President put together the ad hoc committee. And let me make some clarity. The ad hoc committee is not about us setting up a new body to monitor or engage in the illegal mining operations that we are seeing with a multi-sectoral approach. The ad hoc committee is to engage the voices like my senior brother, Dr. Ken Ashigbe and co, who are already in the media coalition, and other bodies that are speaking. It is useful in this enterprise that we are in to give hearing to the people you are governing with. And so government set up that committee to ensure that the clergy who are also adding their voice and the numerous state bodies that are speaking should be engaged. So this intersectoral ad hoc committee
I'm guessing we're having connections issues with the Eastern Regional Minister, Seth Champon. We'll try and re-establish connection with him, and then we can bring him back on. Yeah, so Honorable, please go ahead. We lost you briefly.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Am I clear now?
Yes, you are clear.
Am I still audible? Is it clear?
Yes, please go on.
Thank you. So like I said, our regular multi-sectoral approach where we have our EPA, Minerals Commission, Police Service, Water Resources Commission, the military in our instance in the region is the 1BN from Michelle Camp, who have a detachment with us in Koforidua. They are the ones that we, with our task force in the region, operate and work with. But like I said, the ad hoc committee that His Excellency the President set up is to engage bodies like my senior brother, Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, and other faith-based institutions, and our numerous voices speaking on the recent surge of the brutalities, people who believe that all they can do is to go for extractive minerals from the earth, destroying and devastating our water bodies, and trying to destroy our forest cover as well. These are people that we've been battling and we keep battling.
But as regional minister, you had your own marching orders, and that is one that takes soups. I don't know whether that is already underway.
Elton, at the end of the day, we have that operation going on. In my region, it is not just only water bodies and forest cover. Sand winning is another terrible matter I fight daily in my region. And that is equally devastating the environment. And we've been doing this regularly. And that's what I do with my musex and my disex. And so that is already ongoing. And we are deepening our oversight responsibility in that sector.
So are you using police and military or just the police? Because the communique was quite clear as to the security agents to use and in what circumstances you can bring in the others.
So like I said earlier, the Regional Security Council has a task force, and that comes up with all members of the Regional Security Council. And that task force consists of police, consists of immigration service, consists of the military and the Ghana Police Service and the NID, because intelligence gathering is very important. And so this is the bodies we are using to manage the situation in the region now.
And Honorable, what are their instructions to arrest, seize, and destroy, or what?
As a matter of fact, we are to clear people off our water bodies, seize any machine that is on the water bodies, and in the forest reserves, we have to clear everybody we find in there. We are doing them, and that is what we're doing.
And so far, what can you report regarding that exercise?
So as we speak, we went into the Kwabi Brim area where we've had issues in recent times, and the water bodies, we deployed our men. We have 3 police regional commands in our region. So we took men from the Southern Command and then our detachment from Koforidua and some of our immigration men on that operation. I will be honest with you, we are not speaking too much about our tactics because people are already upbeat and knowing how we did it 3 years ago. We will want to keep most of our operations under our sleeves and surprise them.
But do you trust the integrity of this security personnel that you are deploying? Because in recent times, they've been accused of actually benefiting from what they've been asked to stop.
Trust is a matter that you and I appreciate very well. Even your profession, which is supposed to be the ones that acts as the fourth estate of the realm, are many a times accused of trust issues. But we believe that the people we put on ground will do nothing but what we've instructed them to do. Reasons are simple. It's a command service. And we sit with their commanders and give them what we expect of them before we push them out. My only concern is that in this circumstance, we are going to work hard and not entertain any form of other backroom conversations, because this is what we're doing and we've been doing it all along. And it is prudent that a commitment comes from all of us as a people. As we go and destroy people's equipment, we don't expect some bodies to come and stand up and say that we are living in turbulent times in respect of the economy, and we have turned a blind eye on that and are destroying people's equipment. When it happens this way, it's a challenge for leadership. But we are going to do what we have to do, and that's exactly what we are here for.
You are a regional minister and also a political head. Are you also worried about the implications this may have on the political fortunes of your party? You know very well we are just a few months away from the national elections?
I'll not deny that, Elton. I'm a political animal, first and foremost, but a Ghanaian born and bred here, and I believe and love my country. And I think that we all must put our hands on the wheel and ensure and save everybody. Most of the people we've been arresting on the water borders are not even Ghanaians, but we have endorsed the ECOWAS protocol. And so some of our sovereignty is a bit weakened and loosened in that respect. So this is some of the issues that we fight daily here.
But and before I let you go, how devastating is this menace in your region? Because your region is one of, the brim has been compromised in a way. But how devastating is activities of illegal mining in the eastern region as a whole?
I must admit that we have been inundated with a lot more people who are not from our country. And our battle has been repatriating them. In recent times, when you arrest them, we don't have so much space in our prisons to incarcerate them. So we liaise with the Ghana Immigration Service and their missions in country to help repatriate them. They also do not demonstrate commitment. It makes it a bit frustrating. So we are forced to incarcerate them. I know in no time they would commence accusations that we have an overcrowded prison service, and we are doing nothing about it. But that is the only way we can go, because the Attorney General's office have set up special courts for us where we have expeditious delivery of justice for us. So with the support of the Attorney General's office here, who are very dedicated with the Chief State Attorney here, expeditious delivery of service on that area is also helping us.
All right. And finally, are there timelines when we hope to end this, or this exercise will be ongoing until there is finality to this matter?
Elton, like I said, this is a matter, that is why His Excellency, in his wisdom, set up the ad hoc committee to engage with the various bodies who in recent times are speaking. This is a matter that we are battling on multi-sectoral approach, and it's a canker. It is not a time for me to call for a national furor because of where we are. But it is prudent that anybody listening to me must appreciate that it is not easy for any person of my political tradition to manage what we see here today. That is not what we wished to do. That's not what we wished for. But in leadership, when matters come up this way, you rise up to the occasion.
All right. Let me appreciate your time this afternoon. Ms. Honorable Sefe Champon is the Eastern Regional Minister. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon here. And again, he made reference to the committee that was set up by President Akufo-Addo last Friday. And the committee's work is to look at what is ongoing. So information we are picking is that the committee wants to get a brief on government efforts so far, take input from them, make recommendations to the government. And this is exactly what they will be doing from tomorrow. Dr. Ashigbe, if you are still there and you want to pass a comment so that I can come to my guests in the studio on what we heard so far.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks to my brother, the Honorable Regional Minister. Well, we are in very difficult time. We are not in ordinary times, and I can understand the point he makes about the time close to an election. But where we are at, where our very lives is what is at risk, it is the reason why for the media coalition, we are asking that we need a national consensus on a national consensus on the way to deal with this crises that confront us. And we all need to come together to fight it. But action is required. And, we would want to be able to see the result of some of the things that have to happen. I am still seeing that the government is reluctant to activate Article 31 to be able to impose a state of emergency in parts of the country. We're not asking for a state of emergency in all of the country. It's a state of emergency over these water bodies, a state of emergency in these forest reserves, so that as the Honorable Minister was talking about, expeditious trials and all of that, we can get an example of what happened in the UK, for example, when these attacks, xenophobic attacks were happening. The minister talks about expeditious trials, but we had the AG tell us that about 70-something people have been prosecuted, 850 people are
in court.
Are in court, but we don't see the speed. So it would be important for us to be able to get the results on a daily basis, who has been tried, who is being jailed. And in the same breath as well, it will be interesting to get the regional minister should have told us, entities like Akonta Mining, that we have petitioned the IGP, we've petitioned the AG on it and all of that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources pointed out that they were involved in the illegality. When are we going to see those cases go to court? Examples of Heritage Imperial. There's a situation that we're currently dealing with in the Elembele area where the EPA has given a desist order, but there's a company called SDSD that is mining a river that as early as 24th of March this year was pristine. And today, if you see the quality of it, and it's because this company has gone mining there, and the EPA has issued a desist order that they are flouting. But my problem is that if you have a company like that in mining in places that they ought not to mine, and they are destroying water bodies, it's not desist orders that we should be getting from the EPA. There should be an arrest that should be made because it's an illegal activity. And so you would want that at this particular time, where we are in this, and the government says that it's acting, we are not seeing the toughness that are required. You would want to expect that things like this, the arrest would be immediate, and we would start counting the number of chamfans that have been retrieved from the water on a daily basis. The same way that His Excellency the President was giving us regular briefings during the COVID era. In the same time where we are under a genocidal attack, we'll be hoping that we will be getting constant reportage that these areas, this is what has happened. These are the people who have been arrested. These are the people who went to court today. They've been given the maximum sentence or the minimum sentence under the Minerals and Mining Act as amended.
It's actually, Doctor, it's actually interesting that some foreign nationals who are arrested and taken to court sometimes for the fact that we don't have interpreters, they are let go.
Exactly. By this time, we should be hearing the Chief Justice tell us that he's fixed the problem of the lack of interpreters. Again, today, those two Chinese that were taken to court, and we got the state attorney or the prosecutor come to wanting to hoodwink the judge, that they had died and they had been cremated. And they had to take a judge who is a patriotic person to ask for the ashes. That case was supposed to go back to court today. It is important that you journalists try and get us the details of what is happening to that particular case. And
Absolutely.
that particular prosecutor as well. What is happening to that particular prosecutor?
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ken Asigbe, for your time this afternoon. I understand that the Seth Champion is still on the line with me. Want to react to some few things before he go. Honorable Regional Minister, you are back, so you have some reaction?
No, certainly. I was listening to Ken, and
okay.
This is the work of citizens, and it's not just, this is not the only time Ken has been speaking about issues concerning our environment. I know as an engineer, he has a lot of passion when it comes to environment, both for our spatial planning and how we do our development in our communities. But like we're saying, normally you don't get some of these news as good news. A lot is happening in our courts. A lot more people are being jailed. A lot more people are being incarcerated. But I don't think most of the time we capture, except the top ones who have some flags on them that people want to know. Maybe Aisha One and Co. People are ready to report on them. But there are many cases that have been decided, and that's why I stated what the judiciary has done to assist us in having expeditious delivery and trials. Because if we don't get them, the police service can only assist us in putting them before the law courts by law. They are the prosecutors who raises all these criminal charges for us. And then you have the Attorney General's Department supports them in courts in managing the cases.
Right.
And so it is a major concern that we fight daily. And I believe that we should all be talking this way. And that's why, and let me emphasize again, that's why I'm happy for the ad hoc committees set up. It is to engage with bodies like this and then express what government is doing so far so people can really know and understand. Because without such information, without such engagement, we'll still keep on running around.
All right. Honorable Senator Champon, thank you very much. He is the Eastern Regional Minister. Let me come to Percy and, of course, Mr. Hersey. So let me start with you, Percy. You have some pointer. You heard the Regional Minister. I don't know whether his response give you confidence that for at least for the fifth or the sixth or the third time, we'll get it right this time. And you've got some demands you want to make yourself.
Yes. I know the minister so well. Last time when I was made the president in Koforidua, he came to grace the occasion, and I like his passion for the work he's doing. He has mentioned a number of things. I will just take the concluding statements. A lot more arrests have been made. A lot more people are in court. A lot more people have been incarcerated. And the situation is still like this.
In fact,
even more than this.
I mean, the funniest of them all is the story that Dr. Kenneth brought up, that a court in the Western region, 5 illegal miners, foreign nationals, were taken to the court. The next day, they didn't show up. The judge inquired from the prosecutor, where are the illegal miners? The response was that all of them died and they've been incriminated. And then the judge demanded that then you bring me the death certificate and everything. We're still waiting for that to happen.
Yes, so just to make this point loud and clear, maybe they've not taken a survey of the system. The general public do not trust what is happening. The general public does not trust what is happening. This committee set up on Friday, what they are doing and all that. Major Mahama was killed because of this. This call has been there for quite a long time. So the public doesn't trust this. My own Ghana Institute of Planning, when we're putting all this thing up, they were just calls coming in that, oh, this would amount to nothing. Everything is, they are handling this thing in a very poor way. But just for us to stay, on course, we think that the impact, for us in planning, we do things in a logical way. So the impact of good things being done must be seen. If we put in all these measures and we still see the escalating nature of the galamsey and how people are doing this, and just around his own area, when you get to the Osino Junction, where most people know as Lindador, Osino, Insutem, Esiakwa, Enyinem, going up to Nkoko, that whole stretch is just a crime scene. It's crime scene. The videos are rolling.
And they're actually getting closer to the main road.
Yes, I'm saying they are getting closer to the main road. That's why people have seen now. But for us, we have used drones. We've used photo imageries. We've seen this. 2 years ago, we did a presentation on this. So it means the thing is going on. They said they do regular monitoring and all that. I mean, they do it. But this is where we are with all the monitoring. Last Thursday, you had the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Yes. I mean, Honorable Mrekuduka, you heard him. You heard the minister himself. It was an apology of, I mean, you saw the banter with the TUC.
The Deputy Secretary General.
And it's just funny. But where we are now, if we know the enormity of the issue, I think our actions should be more than this. But just to also, because I mean this is our system and they are in government and we just want them to do the right thing, what we can say is that we have some demands.
Okay.
Among all these demands is that we should declare a state of emergency on this. We should in some selected areas. We cannot say people are mining in forest reserves. People are mining in protected areas, and we are sitting and saying that, oh, we are going to monitor them. No, that shouldn't be it.
But it doesn't look like you are going to get this demand.
It doesn't look, but at a point in time, it was not so clear whether we would get a demand that the hotels shouldn't be sold. But just after some few things, this whole system has changed. Just within 2 days, all labor unions strike. And immediately on Monday, the whole thing was seized.
Right.
I think something can be done. We are duty bearers. If we don't speak on this, the future generations will never forgive us. The future generation will never forgive us. And we need to speak on this. And it must be in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, when people are dying, when the prevalence rate or the life expectancy rate, that is around 55 now, around 46, comes down to about 40, and you go to the renal unit of Kolebu and most of this, you see 15 years, 20-year people having strokes and then, cancers and all that. When these things come up, you know that once upon a time, we stood for this, but nothing was done. So what we are calling for is that, one, we should declare a state of emergency. We should halt all, mining activities. You know, what we said was that if you know the enormity of the issue, you don't do the same things and have different results. Yes, so we need to see this as a big problem. Where we sit, we are not very comfortable because from officialdom, the feedback coming is not as vociferous as the issue that is at stake. So we would want more to be done, and that for our aquatic life, today you've eaten.
Of course.
Good. The tomato that you use, you have no idea where it was produced. The water, you may be using bottled water. Are you aware we import water into this country?
Yes.
We may be looking at the bottled water. So as for me, I'm not drinking from
sachet water or any other water.
Sachet and all that. But somebody is processing it. But the raw material is water. The heavy metals in them, you have no idea. You have no idea. So there's a direct link between some of these things and what we are talking about. But just that we as professional bodies, at times we don't want to go and veer off into what the general public. We want to stay focused on our professional lines so that we can educate the public in a more professional way so that they can take the right decisions.
Let me allow Mr. Hesse to come in. So from engineering, what are you also demanding?
No, the same as everybody is demanding. I don't think we are very different. The minister spoke. We are all Presbyterians. Musro, if he's there.
I think he's gone. I think he's gone.
And yesterday, the youth in our church, they were read to church. They say, stop Galamsey. Our moderator has written a communique on this. That should have been read in all congregations yesterday, standing against Galamsey. It's not just professionals and who are speaking. It's everybody. Yesterday in church, Maosofo, intercessory prayer, he prayed for 15 minutes on this. Speaking about it, somebody had to go and stop him. That was going on too much.
Yeah, in fact, they did the same thing 2 years ago, and we are still where we are.
So if you listen to the minister, he says, so this is what we've been doing. There's a process in place already, and we are doing these things. So it's business as usual. And that business has not yielded any results. And we have a multi-sectorial thing happening, and we are doing it. And when the president gave that instruction last week, did he add resources to it for them? Because if you're going to
the call was that they use local resources.
But they don't have the local resources. There's district assemblies. We take money out of them and we buy things centrally and give to them. There's no money in the district assemblies. There's no money. There's no resources. Those of us who have worked in government before. There's no resources in the regional administrations. What do they have?
In fact, the regional administration is one of the most poorly resourced.
Yes, they don't have anything. So if you tell them that they should lead the fight, you should say, don't do anything. The only way you can see a difference is that central government, who sits on all the resources, says, we are not going to do A, B, C, and D. We are taking that money from the central government and mobilizing the soldiers and taking them to the field and getting them to do. Yeah. 7 years ago, when Nanado promised that he was going to stop Galamsey, he mobilized. They stopped. The water turbidity came down. It was when the people who were enforcing got compromised That's when we went back to square one.
So the government commitment has always been there.
It's a commitment. If the government mobilized the same way they mobilized in 2017, was it?
Yes, 2017, when he put his presidency on the
Yes,
line.
2017, if they mobilized in the same way and sustain it, what did he do? He banned everything for 2 years or so. And then everything went fine. Everything was improving. Then we compromised ourselves. Now, it's a system. When you start enforcing, you don't stop. The system should be held on. And then other things come in. The other things that we appear to be doing, strengthening regulatory enforcement, initiating environmental restoration, they are all things we should be doing. But as we sit today, we are back to square one, where we were in 2017. And the methods we applied in 2017 should be applied again, and even more stringently, so that we can move forward on this fight. So that when we start doing the other things, alongside the strong enforcement, we will succeed. But your borderline is being attacked. People have insurged into your country. Then you say, oh, I have a regional minister there. Let him try to do it, and if it's not successful, I'll send the army in. When the people are already in, when the boundary is broken, and then you say they should go. No.
But
I don't think we are doing
enough. For engineering and planning, let me take you to your professional background. And I mean, it's not by accident the mining companies will employ competent professionals to undertake mining activity. But here's the case: we have people who I mean, they have no background in these professional. So planning is compromised, engineering is compromised. Yes. Now we have our lands destroyed to the extent that some say that it will take 1,000 years for the heavy metals in the water body to go away. So in the circumstances where we have non-professionals re-engineered whatever was put in place years ago, then what kind of future are we leaving behind going forward? Let me start with you, Mr. Hesse, and I'll go to Percy.
No, well, it's very dire. It's very dire. I'm a student service teacher, and I worry when I go to church and look at the children. Seriously speaking, we are mortgaging the future of our children and grandchildren. I'm not going to have any more children. When you spoke about sperms and things like that, probably not mine, but probably my sons. They are yet to marry, and you don't know what will happen to them. And so it's very, very important that we allow life in our country to be approached in a very systematic way, in a very professional way. There are all sorts of professionals who are involved in our day-to-day lives. And if we allow them and give them the room to operate professionally, we'll go somewhere. We are in the situation where we have allowed the politics of the day to take over our lives. So we in the professional fields have been comatose. And we are not able to do what we have been trained to do because we have allowed the politicians to take the ground, and they are just sharing things among themselves. And it's not good enough. We should ban on water bodies. We should make sure that nobody is within the buffer zones. We should take everybody out of the forest reserves. It doesn't matter whether the person is licensed or not. We should take them completely out of the forest reserves and deal with the ones we see by the roadside. These are the things we are asking for. We need to act now.
Before we do that, before Percy comes in, just a quick, let me go on Zoom for just a few minutes. Andy Apiakubi is a member of parliament and he joins me via Zoom. He has some concerns regarding activities of illegal mining in his constituency. Honorable Apiakubi, you're welcome to the poll. So what is the story in your constituency?
Thank you very much, my brother. In my constituency, there is zero tolerance for galamsey. And I mean, it is a whole community that fights against anybody who makes the attempt. My good self, my MCE, my traditional authorities, and the general community, the people who made attempts to come, we sacked them overnight and they couldn't even locate. Those who built camps hoping to come and stay there and do the mining, we sacked them and the camps are now empty. We intend to give them to teachers who want to stay there. So in my community, Asante Achim North, there is, in fact, the way these people operate, if you allow them to locate, it's difficult to find them. So the way to do it is fight them when they attempt to come. In our place, we don't respect any license given by anybody. The only reason is that part of the endeavor is legal small-scale mining. Part is illegal mining, which we refer to as galamsey. In our community, we don't have any capacity to differentiate between the two. So myself, my chiefs, my community, MC, all of us came together and said that since we don't understand what is galamsey, what is not galamsey, we will not just allow anybody to come in.
So there's none at all in the Agugu area?
None at all. The two people who came, I saw them, we moved them all out. We seized their equipment and drove them out. In fact, one of them, Nana Kwekusapon himself, called me and gave me the hint that some people were in one part of our community. We went there and, we got them arrested, we sacked them. There was one that came to Jansa and Bamia Bra, we sacked them overnight. The day they came, the next day they moved out. Those who came to Pachacha area, we did not allow them to even locate. So the strategy is that don't allow them to come. In fact, apart from the destruction that we see, they also corrupt the youth in the area. They resort to all kinds of drug abuse and, its consequential crimes. So it is important that it takes the whole community to fight galamsey. So we have fought it with everybody in support. So one person cannot fight it. In fact, I even doubt whether the security service people, when they go there, they will also get corrupted.
But Honorable Andy Appiah, then you should share this strategy with the constituency you share border with, Asante Achimsam, the Kodongo area, because illegal mining has virtually taken over the Kodongo town.
What I know is that my good friend, minister, will never sign any certificate for people who locate on our rivers. But so everybody on the waterbeds all of them are doing galamsey. And in the forest, I don't know, I don't think, and I don't believe that a minister will authorize anybody into the forest areas. So all of them are also in illegal mining. You told me about my adjoining constituencies. They know what I stand for. I have ever even gone to one of the adjoining constituencies to drive away people who were working on the common river that is the source of our drinking water. We went there to drive them away, although it was not in my constituency, but with me and my security personnel in my constituency, we went there to drive them away. So it takes everybody understanding that we won't allow this to happen, and then we can do it. Like I've told you, you can bring whatever certificate in my constituency, it won't work. We will not allow it. But like I'm saying, you have to come to the constituency to investigate yourself and see whether there is any galamsey in my area or whether. But don't take it that there is no deposit there. The deposits are there. Not until we understand how to mine it with environmental concerns covered and the mitigation arrangements done.
I think the connection, yeah, but yes.
Hello. I said
yes,
that
please,
we don't allow it because it is the whole community that is rejected.
All right. Thank you so much. But before, just briefly on this matter, your government, Nana Akufo-Addo, has instructed regional ministers to undertake sweeps, so meaning the Ashanti regional minister will lead the exercise in the Ashanti region. There are concerns about the political blowback that you may have going into the elections. How stringent should they be as they enforce this for the very last time, if you like? I think we've lost him. So, Percy, I'll give you the final word as we wrap up this discussion.
Yes, what I'll say is that it appears we are mortgaging our lives for short-term temporal gains. What I mean by this is that people are cashing in big time on this galamsey, and they do not have any idea the impact that it will have on them and the foreseeable future, what we are saying is that our professionals are in 261 assemblies across the 16 regions of Ghana.
So that means you are represented in every assembly.
Every assembly, every region. So some of this, so if you go, so every space is governed. So you have special plans for all these areas, and you need permits for all that. So our eyes are all over the place. And what is happening, we've brought it out, and we want the government to take it as seriously as possible.
Right.
The pointers are there. Earlier this year, we gave them areas that we want them to focus in their manifestos. Subsequently, we've gone to assess, we were on GTV together, we're going to assess to what extent they've complied with this in their manifestos and all that. And we will keep looking out for this.
But by also giving, perhaps, same question for the two of you. In your recommendation, I also making case for, so what then happens to those who will be denied their livelihood for the illegality that we've been doing?
Yeah.
How do we accommodate them?
Yeah, so you see, when there is a problem, you first halt what is happening, because you heard the minister, the MP for his area. They are finding difficult to more or less distinguish between small-scale mining
And illegal mining.
and then illegal mining. And in our write-up, we've distinguished this. Our target is not the small-scale mining. Actually, we've worked on, there are sustainable mining going on across the country. That is not our target. But our target is the illegality and the way people are. Look, people get documentations for Minerals Commission to go to the various places. Who gave them those documentations? Let's track all that. Who are the policemen? Who are the... You see, mining is not an undercover activity.
At all.
Look, I was in Agoresum. I was in Mansoabore. I was in Mansun Kwanta. Right from Antwa, from Amia Kwanta Road. I took all that stretch. I've seen what is happening firsthand. And it is done. You hear the machines, and police, community leaders, chiefs are all aware of what is happening. So once we come on stage here and we speak like this, it means we know what we are talking about. So for us, we think that let's not focus too much on our temporal gains and mortgage our entire life. Once we do that, we'll come back to this stage, and then we'll be discussing something else about lives, the way we are dying. Look, this issue is more important than even the COVID-19. It's as worse as COVID. More than COVID-19. But because of the way COVID-19 had a global appeal, that's how come we gave it the necessary action. So we want the same impetus. If you give them responsibilities to the regional ministers, give them resources and give them timelines, give them benchmarks that every week, every day, they should come reporting. Once we have this set, it will give us some comfort, and we will name and shame, and also make sure that we see people who are prosecuted. Then we would have our lives back.
The issue about livelihood, alternative livelihood. You are asking that we should halt the exercise. So what then happened to the thousands of people who are depending on this for their livelihood?
If you read the manifestos of the political parties for the elections, and even the paper that we did as Institution of Engineering on Galamsey, they were more focused on the livelihood parts and all those things. We're all getting too comfortable. And if you look at the way we are thinking forward, we've become so comfortable that, let's deal with this as a livelihood issue. And we all were gradually comatose into that.
Right.
And then when I heard 3 weeks ago, from Ghana Water and what was happening, I called my president. I said, look, I think we've all been misled into focusing on livelihood and not focusing on our very existence.
Right.
So we've all been comatose. And if the political parties would do just what they've said in their manifestos, then nothing is going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we all focused on this livelihood thing. But now it's a crime that we are fighting. And when you are fighting, the first question is not how would the thief who are stopping from stealing survive. And that is where we are. That's why the call is for a state of emergency. Because then we can take actions which are draconian, which will affect people, which will make people suffer today. But if it's a thief who is suffering, he should suffer a little bit whilst we find the next steps of helping him out of his misery.
All right.
Our first step should not be to say, let's make sure that he has something to eat before we stop him from destroying what will make him have food to eat. Thank
you so much for your time this afternoon. Ladies, folks, we've been discussing the issue of illegal mining. It's a matter that won't go away until we have a hand on the devastation it's causing our environment and our water bodies. So you've been listening to Percy Bukari, President, Ghana Institute of Planning, Engineer Ludwig Hesse, President-elect Institution of Engineering. I got it right this time around. Let's have some text messages because some of you have been sharing your thoughts on the way out of this menace. Let me go through some of them, see if I can bring that to you quickly. Good afternoon. This very afternoon, there's an unlawful devastation going on in the local area called Jenu in the Enchi municipality in the Western region. The devastation is followed by chiefs in the municipality, of which he led the foreign nationals to pay some amount of money. We cannot verify this. Illegal mining is happening very seriously in my area. Even board chairpersons, he mentioned it, we can't put a name there because we are unable to verify this information. And this has happened at Abuaso in the Prisia Valley constituency. Galamsey is at the Lembele. It has increased in the past 4 months. Carlton, you don't ask, it says subject government officials, the Galamsey. I don't know what else you wanted me to ask. My name is Ezabad from Takrade. I was working in a mining company in the Eastern region. My boss, a white man, said, Ezabad, the term is alluvia mining. The gold is in the water. How can the government tell us not to mine in the water when we pay huge monies to government officials? So these are some of your comments that we brought to you. And of course, as the Galamsey menace continue to ravage the country's rivers and water bodies, concerns have emerged about the quality of water we drink. And our latest Hotline documentary titled Drinking with Suspicion, Richard Kojo-Nyakon explores a puzzling question. Why do so many trust sachet and bottled water with unknown sources, yet remain skeptical of the water flowing from their taps? Here are excerpts from the documentary.
Spread distrust, one thing remains undeniable. Ghanaians are either drinking water from the Ghana Water Company or relying on sachet water. However, Stanley Marty, communications manager of the Ghana Water Company, insists that those choosing sachet water, despite having tap access, are doing so out of perception, not necessity. According to him, it's less about safety concerns and more about lifestyle shifts.
It's just about perception, and I think and it's also about standards of living. When people's standard of living improve, okay, then they resort to all manner of expensive adventure or venture.
And today, mining is done right in the rivers. What it means is that we have added several chemicals to the water, which our treatment system does not take care of them. They do nothing to them.
There are districts where people are producing at their backyard and coming, and if you are small scale, they don't even come on the radar, but it poses a risk. Because if you are at a funeral in the village, whether you are Director General of GSA or not, you buy water and you would assume that this water has been tested and certified and approved for sale by the FDA. Of course, at the funeral, you're not going to take your phone and check whether it's on the website and so on and so forth. It's nice to do, but practically how many of us will do that? So to the extent that we do know that there are pockets of products circulating in commerce without the knowledge of state authorities, there's work to do. To the extent that the products even on the market could change in quality, requiring constant surveillance, we have work to do. And for us at the GSA, to the extent that people are using our logo without approval, there's work to do. But when you put all together, the GSA and the FDA has harmonized. We have harmonized, and I've said that, look, we are reducing the cost and the time. So maybe that harmonization should inure to the benefit of those who produce sachet and bottled water and should improve the quality existing. But I will always say that there is still more room for improvement.
People are fast losing faith in the very systems meant to keep them safe. Joseph Ofer is a business development manager at Norax Care, a company focused on water purification. As concerns deepen, so too does the demand for innovative ways to guarantee water safety at home.
I would say what we preach here at Norax Care is that if you need to be sure, you need to filter your own water at home. And so with Norax Care, we have filters like point-of-use water filters that you can use in your kitchen or in your shower. And if the water is not filtering, you can see for yourself. If it filters, perfectly well, you can also see for yourself. And there are several other components in the water that can also help in the filtration of heavy metals as well. For instance, KDF55 and activated carbon. And so it is very needful that when you need to be sure you filter your own water at home.
Right, so we'll take a short break and return. When we'll come back, we'll talk about the NDC's decision to demonstrate tomorrow against the EC's refusal to undertake an audit of the voters' register. We'll have the details for you after the short break. You're welcome to the Pulse. This is your election headquarters. Now, in some few hours, the Enough is Enough demonstration called by the Opposition National Democratic Congress will kick off across the country. The demonstration is aimed at forcing the Electoral Commission to submit the voters' register to an audit after the NDC said it had discovered widespread discrepancies in the roll. The AC has rejected the claims and insisted the register is robust. With just hours to go, the National Peace Council has revealed it is working behind the scenes to get the NDC to put the demonstration on hold. George Amwa is Executive Secretary of the National Peace Council.
He has to meet with the IGP and others regarding the current situation we have. We all know NDC wants to go on demonstration tomorrow. We want to see how we can manage that. The council has had several meetings with the Electoral Commission to discuss various issues of concern and sought clarifications on matters that the public had brought to the attention of the Peace Council. The Peace Council has had dialogues with women wings, party communicators, and youth wings of all the political parties in our country. The Peace Council has provided training in alternative dispute resolution for all the political parties to help them resolve their internal matters. The MPC has had a dialogue with the Council of Elders of all the political parties in the country to evaluate the events in the political space to determine what we could do together to minimize the tension and possible violence in accordance with Section 3E of the National Peace Council Act 818. In terms of managing political tensions and violence, the Peace Council since 2023 has created a political party trust-building platform to promote dialogue and consensus building among the political parties and institutions of our country. The Peace Council has set up the Political Party Code of Conduct Committee to monitor the activities of the parties. This setup is to free the council so it could give attention to the about 703 cases currently pending in all our offices across the country.
Well, the leadership of the NDC have said it is going ahead with the protest, with its regional branches announcing readiness. Now, in the studio is Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer, Deputy Director of IT with the NDC. Before that, though, listen to the Electoral Commission as they make the point that there is actually no reason for this demonstration to take place. We'll bring that to you shortly. But let me welcome Dr. Computer to the studio. Doctor, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So a lot of reference has been made to the comments the NDC made in 2016. Comments that sought to create the impression that the electoral roll was the best. And almost 8 years down the line, you have issued with the same electoral roll you praised in 2016. What really has changed?
Very well. Let me say good evening to your cherished viewers. A lot of things have changed. If you look at the Electoral Commission as of 2016, when issues of this nature came up, I mean, you remember the episode of the 80,000 Togolese being bandied around by then running mate of Nanadu, Dr. Bawumia, did a lot of press conferences all over the country, showing pie chart and bar charts of all this data, followed up by Samuel, who now the Director General of NLE, who was then the youth organizer, held a press conference and said a lot of things about the register, ghost names, people names being taken out and all that. What the Electoral Commission at that time did was that they formed a 5-man committee headed by Justice Crabb to deal with the issue. And they held public fora and allowed the political parties to make presentations. So we didn't just rubbish it. We rather went and made presentation to let the whole world know that the 80,000 they are talking about doesn't exist. And they are Ghanaians. Just because they have names that looks like Togolese names and all that. Don't forget, Aflawo and Ghana, share border, they are virtually the same people. So we made presentations. That was an audit. Because they had to investigate to be sure that we don't have these 80,000 in there.
Is it the same audit you're asking for?
That is why we are saying that.
Set up a committee, invite the political parties to bring their...
That is it. You see, that is where sometimes we have difficulties with this current electoral commission, because it appears they have something to hide. What is your fear? When they were saying those things in 2016, we made presentations, the MPP made presentations, the committee arrived at a point, came out with their report, we went into the election, the MPP won the election. We accepted it. That is why we are saying that now the magnitude of the problem is more than what happened in 2016. So serious. This one borders on criminal conduct. Somebody sat somewhere in the Electoral Commission head office and start manipulating the data.
They say only one constituency.
Not one.
Pusiga.
Do you know what? That's why we are saying they refused. They didn't want the media to come in there. As we speak now, we are uncovering even more. West one from Tolong constituency. Tolong. I can give you the data very well. Tolong people, they have transferred to the same Pusiga without their knowledge.
Is the EC aware of this? Have you presented this latest claim of illegality to the EC?
Yes, we told them. We told them at the meeting that the time we were meeting them and discussing all this, we were doing ongoing further investigation into the matter. And so when they told us that they have done corrections and corrected all these verses, and we asked them, give us the corrected verse that you have. Because they were singing from a hymn book that we don't know. When we talked about a gentleman whose name was transferred from one polling station in Accra to Tesano police station, ostensibly to put his name in special voters list, and in reversing it back, they inadvertently removed his name from the register because his name could not be traced in the provisional register that they exhibited and the one they gave to us. Their IT consultant who was seated there quickly pointed some things and said, "Oh, the gentleman is in the register." And we said, look, when the gods want to kill you, they first make you mad. So we asked him, which constituency is that gentleman and which police? He mentioned Ketu North, Volta region. We said, oh, you are. We told you. Everybody was shocked in the hall. I wish the media, you were there to capture this. From Accra, Tesano police station, back all the way now is in Volta region.
And did the EC explain how this
And that's why we are saying that. So we told them that it appears you have on the register which is different from the one you exhibited and the one you gave to us. So we are dealing with 3 registers now because your register is showing that that man is there. So it means the register we are holding and we have done the audit in ourselves looks different from what you are reading from. Then give us that one. You say that's the corrected one.
So
why did they give it?
So Dr. Computer, your fear is that if this is not corrected, it may not augur well for the NDC in the elections?
My brother, you see this book?
Yes.
Have you seen it?
How to rig an election.
How to rig an election. This is what the Electoral Commission is playing to Ghanaians. This book is the hymn book they are singing from. And I'm telling you that we are not going to allow this. When Chessman wrote this book, he knew of how dictators rig elections. They rig election before you go to the election day. And he said it very clear that, look, such tactics include manipulating the electoral register. Listen, manipulate the electoral register. These tactics have in common is that they can be deployed months in advance of an election when observers are likely to be seen on the ground, and they can be presented as technical or legal decisions as opposed to political skullduggery. But this is what they are doing.
But you have followed elections for some time. Has there ever been the occasion where the Electoral Commission has rigged the election on behalf of another party since 19? Has it ever happened?
I am saying that the Electoral Commission that we know of 92 up to 26 is not the Electoral Commission we have now. It's just the name you are referring to.
So for the first time, they can rig the elections?
I am saying that if you have an Electoral Commission that is made up of MPP apparatchiks, what do you expect? Do you think they want their government to lose? These are MPP communicators, directors of elections in different regions who have been assembled as commissioners. Do you expect that? Do you want Apia here to sit down and preside for election?
Dr. Fayan says the election is won at the polling center.
And I'm saying that before we get to the polling station, the register has already been bloated. So what am I going to do at the polling station? You have bloated the register that I'm going to use for the polling station.
By how much? By how much?
243,000 names of old data of 2023 has been added to the current register. And they accepted it.
And it is your estimation that these 240,000 are all MPP functionaries who vote for the MPP in the elections?
That is why I'm saying that. Of what use will you add that as an electoral commissioner? On what basis? Look, in election, there's no error. errors are deliberate attempt to rig elections. Now, when you catch the one who is perpetuating that error, he will tell you it's an error. If you don't catch the person, it passes. And they will use it to declare the elections. That's why Chessman said here, when they do that, this time they are doing all this. Observers are not in the country. Have you seen any international observers here? They are not yet.
Perhaps not yet.
Good. So they want to dirty the register before they arrive. If you don't talk, they will use that dirty register to conduct election. And by conducting that election, it will legitimize their illegality.
The EC says that dialogue must continue. Demonstration will not achieve anything.
We have started the dialogue with them. We wrote to them. They didn't invite us. We wrote. You see, we are lovers of the democracy. We want our democracy in Ghana to strive. So what we did is that when we saw the problems in the register, we wrote to them demanding for a meeting with you so that we come and present to you, demonstrate to you what we have seen in the provisional. We called it observations. We were charitable to them. We didn't even say anomalies. We described them as what? Observations in the register. When we wrote the letter to them, quickly, Bossman came out of a press conference on Wednesday. Our meeting was scheduled for Friday. He quickly held a press conference. Do you know what he said in the press conference? He clearly admitted to some of the issues that we started teasing out. That yes, it was an error that they added this old data into the new data. They've just realized it, and they will reverse all of that. Yes, it was also that the transfers were illegal, the illegal transfers of Tamale South and Sandargo to Pusiga. Yes, they realized that there was no lively check. Somebody in their within themselves did those things. They are still investigating and all. So virtually, he admitted to some of the ills that they have perpetrated on the register before even our meeting. So in our meeting, we took time to walk them through the observation we have seen, 5 thematic areas, and took time to explain it to them. They were all seated. The commissioners were there with their IT officer. Had it not been Madam Jean Mensah, the IT officer would have messed the whole commission up that day. So when we did this, and they said they had corrected it, we then demanded that they give us a corrected version. We will go and compare.
The certified voters.
The certified one, they say they have corrected it. All these things you are talking about, we have done some corrections, and we have the corrected. So we handed over a hard drive. You know, we're well prepared. So we're going with empty hard drives because we know these people. We know their lifestyle. So we're prepared. You can ask them, and they say, bring your hard drive. If you don't have it, they'll say, you have asked them for hard drive, they have not given. So we handed it to them. They collected and gave a text Thursday. By that time, they would have loaded it for it. Up till now, they haven't loaded.
As we speak.
As we speak now, they have not given us the corrected version. For us to check, if they had given us the corrected version, we would have compared that one to the discrepancies that we have seen to see whether they have resolved it. And the second leg would have been, let's re-exhibit. Because we're calling for forensic audit. After that, re-exhibit, because you have messed up Ghanaians' data. These people will not listen.
So tomorrow you want to demonstrate and to make what point?
Well, it's our constitutional right to demonstrate. We are sending a petition to the Speaker of Parliament, and we are sending a petition to Madam Jean Mensah herself. We want them to know that this country democracy rests in the head of Madam Jean Mensah. The future of Ghana rests on her shoulder. And she must act decisively because her other commissioners acted decisively. That is why we are having democracy that we are enjoying now. Afarjan acted decisively. Afarjan, the UNDP, in 2012, wrote to them to assist them to do an audit when they had a biometric register. NPP were pushing them. Afarjan acceded to it. Madam Charlotte Osei acceded to NPP request when they were banding this, their 80,000 and then Samia Awuku press conferences around. Madam Charlotte Osei acceded to it and formed a committee to investigate and come out with a report. You cannot be a different commission that thinks that everything of you should be opaque.
So tomorrow will just be a demonstration and presentation of a petition to the EC and the Speaker of Parliament.
Yes.
And after?
After we have other plans. If they don't listen to it, if they don't listen to the Wise Council, we have other plans.
You escalate the demonstration?
I'm saying we have other plans under our sleeves. There are several ways of...
Is someone suggesting that you are preparing the grounds to blame, in the event that you are defeated in the election, you blame it on the fact that the EC played a ball in favor of the MPP? Is that the grounds you are preparing?
Elton, you see, we are not talking about winning. We are talking of the magnitude of win is what we are protecting now. For winning, John Mahama has won the election. It's the magnitude. We want to beat these people and beat them hands down so that they don't make noise again. What they are doing now is trying to narrow the win. So that when we beat them, they will say, oh, even after all this thing, you've just beaten them with small enough. That's what they are looking for. It's not about winning or losing. The NDC is not losing this year election. Mark it. As we speak now, we are hovering around 54%. We want to see if we can move it to 56%. With all this nonsense going on in the country, which right-thinking human being will vote for NPP again? All right. I just heard you talking about Galamsey. Look at how they've destroyed the environment, the whole country. They continue destroying it. 3 months, they can even go and bring NASA people or FBI from America. They can't stop it. The only way to stop it is to get these people and vote them out. Let them send their troubles out. So Ghana, we can reset Ghana and bring it back. So we are ready
Thank you so much
for the demonstration.
We'll follow up the demonstration tomorrow. The NDC describes it as enough is enough demonstration. But before we go, it's exactly a year since the Akosombo Dam spillage, which devastated several communities. Let's take a quick tour to the communities and find out how the people are coping a year on. Joining us from the Northton District are, Kofi Jupiter Aziato, Assembly Member, Dafo Adidomi Electoral Area. Kofi, you're welcome to the post.
It is to join news and their viewers.
Right, so a year on, how is life like? Is everything returned to normal?
A year on, it is very miserable in the Dofadidoma electoral area. It is very unfortunate, scary, and very rough for the people of Dofotonu, Asimokope, Bukwe, Jadanko, who were involved in the flood during last year. Because their buildings were collapsed, they have nowhere to sleep, they don't have homes, they are just malingering around, they don't have hope. Their farms were being destroyed by the Akosombo dams, they lost their livelihoods. They use their farm produce to cater for their kids in schools, but as it stands now, their children are being dropped out from school because they don't have any other means to cater for their kids in school. My brother, after the Akosombo flood, people have developed skin infections because the water was contaminated. So the people of Tonu in the North Tonu developed some other skin infections. Very scary one, of course. And they lost their livelihoods as a result of the flood. Moreover, the people have high blood pressure. I can tell you in authority that 2 people lost their lives after the flood in Tonu.
Okay.
Because their buildings were destroyed, their farm produce were destroyed. They have nowhere to go. They have no home to stay. They have no food to eat. So as a result, they started thinking they don't know what to do again. So they developed high blood pressure and lost their lives in the Fotonu.
But Kofi, as we speak, do we still have people living in tents and putting up with families?
We still have people living in tents in the Fotonu because formerly they were using their classrooms. But school resumes, they have to go back to their villages. And in their villages, their buildings were destroyed. They don't have anywhere to go. So they have to erect a tent of themselves so that they will use as shelter for the meantime. It is very unfortunate, my brother, that when government initiated this fertilizer and seedlings, government has refused to serve the people of Tonu. They have started sharing the fertilizers and seedlings, but my people has never got a pin out of the fertilizer that they are sharing. Meanwhile, their farmers, their farm produce were destroyed. They don't have hope. Their only hope is God.
So a year on, what would you say are the immediate needs of the people that must be addressed?
The immediate needs of the people is where to sleep, accommodation. They need accommodation because their buildings were destroyed by the Akosombo Dam. It is not their fault. The water came unexpectedly. So it is not their fault to be in their homes and Akosombo water will take them unexpectedly. So they need hope. Government has to come to their aid and they put up a structure for them to move in.
All right, let's leave it here. We'll follow it up, but we've got a special report that will be bringing it to you in subsequent bulletins. Well, folks, that's our show for today. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. Stories on myjoyonline.com. Those are the stories on your screens. You can visit My Joy Online for these and more. Well, tomorrow, same time, we'll be here to bring you another exciting edition of The Pulse. Whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope it's profitable. My name is Elton Grobe. Good evening and take care.